Good evening and welcome to MoMA, to Joan Jonas, Jason Moran lecture demonstration. My name is Anna Janewski. I'm a curator in the Media and Performance Department here at MoMA and a curator of the exhibition Joan Jonas, Good Night, Good Morning, together with my colleagues. Thank you for this, but also for my colleagues, G. Wesley and Lilia Taboada. This is the first performance, the first of the series of events and performances in conjunction with the exhibition. And what better way to start, what a joy to have here tonight Jason and Joan. Jason and Joan are collaborators, they're friends, they're acclaimed artists. And they start collaborating in 2005 with the performance The Shape, the Scent, the Feel of Things at the Beacon here in New York. And the lecture demonstration tonight is a series of quotes, to quote Joan, from different performances they've done together. So we will hear how they met, how they work, how they improvise. So I'm going to be short, because they're going to say that in a much more poetic way. But I would like to mention how they're both open to collaboration. They are both open to experimentation. Jason is a jazz pianist, a composer, and he works, of course, he collaborates with musicians, but with other visual artists, Adrian Piper, among many. He uses many references, he works multidisciplinary, he looks in the past, he knows a lot about jazz history, he knows a lot about music history, music sites, and he brings them also into the present. Jones also collaborates. She collaborates with other artists, visual artists, musicians, with children, with humans and non-humans. And she also has this magic way of bringing images, sounds, props, drawings from the past into the present. So I think this is also about many things, this idea of collaborating, experimenting in something that really make them excellent collaborators. And also I would like to mention Joan's relation to sound. When Joan started doing performances at the end of the 60s, beginning of the 70s, she said that she actually wanted to do performance because she could use movement and sound. And if you visit the show, you will see that sound is omnipresent, from the really first gallery with the clapping of the wooden blocks in song delay, to hitting the mirror with the spoon and with the hammer in Organic Honey, to other collaborations, and to the very end of the piece, to the very end of the exhibition with the new piece to touch sound with the clicking of the whales. So I would like really to thank Jason and Joan for being with us tonight, but also tomorrow, and also Kate Fenner and Laila Gavagan, who will join Jason and Joan tonight on the stage as performer. They already both collaborated with Joan in the past. And I would like to also help all the collaborators behind the scenes. So I will read just to be sure, that's why this paper here. So from Joan's team, we would like to thank, of course, Kate Fenner and Laila Gavagan, David Sherman, Paula Longendijk, Lucy Millikan, and Ozu. From MoMA, I would like to thank the colleagues from the film department who are sharing this beautiful space with us tonight, Stuart Comer and the supportive colleagues from the Media and Performance, and from the curatorial team who worked on this event tonight, Lilia Taboada, G. Wesley, and Mitchell Herman. The terrific performance and live program team, Kate Scherer, Nora Cello, and Jessie Gold, and also an applause for them, they did really miracles. And the AV support, absolutely necessary for this event, with Paul DiPietro, Omer Lebovitz, Christopher Brown, Will Rains, John Dyer, Steve Warrington, and Heather L. And after performance, I will be moderating a talk with Jason and Joe, so if you can, please stay. So enjoy, Jason Moran and Joan Jonas. Thank you.
Good night.
Good morning. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming. This is the kind of performance that I could say anything. I just want to say that this is, I think, the third or fourth time we've done this piece together.
Yes.
Yeah. And at the beginning, we talk a little bit about our own work. I won't say much because you've seen some of it upstairs. I'll just say that in the past, my main concerns were with how to alter the image. So the medium of the mirror, outdoor distance that distorts space, and video, and then later on text juxtaposed next to all those lines. But I thought I'd just mention, because nobody ever, writers don't write about how we started and who the people, why. So in the 60s, when I switched from art history to wanting to make this kind of work, I have to mention a few names that never get mentioned. Jerry Jonas was a friend of Henry Geldzahler and Calvin Trillin. And Geldzahler was at the Met. He was the first, I think, contemporary curator there. And he used to call Bud Trillin and tell him what was going on downtown. You know, there were happenings in downtown. And Bud would call us, and we would go. So that's how I began, seeing all that work, and it had a huge influence on me. For instance, I saw a piece by Lucinda Childs, and I thought, oh, God, that's what I want to do. Well, it didn't look like what she does now. It was what she was doing in the early 60s. But that's how that began in New York. And New York was a place where there were things going on. And at these venues, the audience would consist of people from all the different disciplines. So filmmakers, poets, visual artists, painters, sculptors, all came to these pieces, and that's how this whole situation began, with the cross-references and really you could call it collaborations, but not actively. And of course, to mention my main inspirations and the people that I took workshops with. The dancers were all giving workshops. Trisha Brown, Yvonne Rainer, Steve Paxton, and Robert Rauschenberg was doing performances, and so was Robert Morris, and Deborah Hay. So all those people are in the community. Even if they're not with us anymore, they're still here.
Yeah, I mean, well, that sounds like the community that I had in my head as a myth is what New York is. When I was growing up in Houston, I only thought about what I would read and hear coming from New York in the 80s. It's like, what's New York doing? And it took a long time for it to get down to the Gulf Coast, but it did get to us. Just got to us slowly. But as soon as I turned 18, I wanted to come to this city that you described, where the audience was kind of anybody, and what happened on stage could be anything. Even though I was arriving here to be a musician, you know, to study jazz at Manhattan School of Music, but what I would spend my day doing was kind of going to look at New York City. This was the better school than that school. And I would often come to this space here to see a show and be kind of turned out by what I saw. But I didn't know how to play it. And so over time, I started to try to test this moment of finding how do you play also not just music language, but actual language. And maybe this is a moment I segue into talking about Adrian Piper in this sentence that she says about what artists could do. And on this is a photograph of Joan and Adrian in Berlin, one of my favorite photographs that I took.
Could I just say something about yes. So the coincidence, a wonderful coincidence, that Adrian Piper, I think, was the last woman who showed on the 6th floor where my show is.
Yeah,
That's great. And I'll just say, Jason mentioned to me before that he wanted me to mention my early, just one little early memories of MoMA. I grew up here. And what I remember is walking in the front door, and there was the Cezanne, the bather, I'll never forget that painter. I'm sure many of you know it. And then in the next room was Rousseau. So, you know,
Right.
we have those memories of these places.
Yeah, I like hearing you talk about that. Also, as a New Yorker growing up, coming to this museum for all these years, and what I thought about this neighborhood was 1 block away on 52nd Street, which was the legendary spot in the 40s where all of the jazz clubs were. Well, let's say many of them were, but they were all concentrated into this block between 5th and 6th, and it's like a really important place that I still hear the sound from a block away, and I know this building did too. But this is a piece of sound that something that Adrian said in a documentary about her, and it's about the kind of like what possibly could be the artist's path, and I somehow now I use it as maybe a bit of a mantra.
Artists ought to be writing about what they do and what kinds of procedures they go through to realize a work, what their presuppositions in making the work are, and related things. If artists' intentions and ideas were more accessible to the general public, I think it might break down some of the barriers of misunderstanding between the art world and artists and the general public. I think it would become clear the extent to which artists are just as much a product of their society as anyone else with any other kinds of vocation. Artists ought to be writing about what they do and what kinds of procedures they go through to realize a work, what their presuppositions in making the work are, and related things. If artists' intentions and ideas were more accessible to the general public, I think it might break down some of the barriers of misunderstanding between the art world and artists and the general public. I think it would become clear the extent to which artists are just as much a product of their society as anyone else with any other kinds of vocation.
So we go right on into the next. So we're going to show a clip now of the shape, the scent, the feel of things, and then we'll talk later about how we met and everything like that.
Yes.
But I have to get across the room first.
All right. Part of working with Joan is watching Joan walk across all the spaces. And at Dia Beacon, we were in this large, large space. And I hadn't worked in a space quite like that, but just watching her is part of my job as the musician, is to watch her every move.
As psychohistorian, I tried to diagnose schizophrenia of Western civilization from its images in an autobiographical reflex. The shape, the scent, the feel of things, the actuality of the present, its bearing on the past, present, future. These three fourth dimensional. The room has 4 sides. There are 4 seasons to a year. It is as simple and as inevitable in the building of time sequence as the fourth wall to a room.
I have the sensation of being a seismograph, assembled from the wooden pieces of a plant that has been transplanted from the east into the fertile northern German plains, and onto which an Italian branch was grafted. I let the signs that I receive come out of me, because in this epoch of chaotic decline, even the weakest has the duty to strengthen the will to cosmic order.
Our plan was to now discuss the age-old story, how we met.
That's right. How did we meet? Oh yeah, we did. You know where we met? Well,
We did meet.
we did. It's like some backstory about how we met.
Well, we met because I was commissioned to do this piece for Dia Beacon, and I wanted to work with a composer, and I was looking and searching, and I went to an opening at the gallery where Adam Pendleton was having his show. He was very young then, and his show was a series of paintings with the word love. Mm. And I told him I was looking for a composer, and he said, "Oh, I've been listening to Jason Moran, and I really like him." And so we looked in the newspaper, and he was performing at Lincoln Center the next day.
Yeah. Yeah, the Jazz at Lincoln Center was opening its new building on 59th Street. And this is 2005, and I was one of the people they commissioned to write something new for this opening that they were having. And I wrote this piece called Rain, which we'll kind of hear in the background as we talk. And Rain is a piece dedicated to all the folks who gathered in the woods when they weren't supposed to. Enslaved folks who would gather in the darkness, and they would sing a melody, and they would walk around in a circle, counterclockwise. Until exhaustion, they would sing melody. Until exhaustion, they would sing this melody. And so in this performance, I have this trumpeter playing this one phrase of music, and he walks around the band for 13 minutes, playing this one phrase. And at the end, at the 11th minute, he must take a solo. He's very tired by then. And so this was the first time I was trying something with a performance, because I thought for something so important to American history and to my history as a musician, how would I honor that movement? And you saw this.
It is a beautiful piece. I don't know, did you do it again like that ever?
That's the only place I ever performed it.
Amazing. We have to bring it back. No, but it was beautiful, and I really liked the idea and the sound of the person walking around and around and around.
Yeah. And I think also in this other moment where when you called me on the phone, so like that was Friday and Saturday, we had this performance, and then on Monday, my red phone rang.
His red phone. Well, the thing is that I said, I really liked it, and so I went home and I looked him up in the phone book, and he was there. And so I called him up, and I don't remember, what did I say?
Well, Joan cuts all fat, is straight to the heart. Hi, is this Jason, the piano player? 1, I'm Joan Jonas. 2, 3, I have a new piece I'm working on. Do you want to? I said, yes, and then I came down to your studio.
He said, I'll be right down.
I mean, it was really like we were really trying. I don't know. We were trying something, and then we started to work together. I remember one of the first things you said. Well, I'm about to go to Nova Scotia for the summer, but here's some things. Here's 8 volumes of folk music to listen to. I was like,
I gave him an assignment.
Right, and then you said, and then let me know what you hear and what you think, and then that was the only kind of missive at that point.
So we began, should we talk about how we rehearsed?
Sure.
DIA?
Yeah.
So we began, the DIA Foundation gave us, which is very unusual for people like us, to have a rehearsal space for 6 weeks. So we could go there every day. We drove up every day. Not every day, we had a day off, didn't we?
Right.
Every day for 6 weeks. And Jason said he'd never played so hard in his life, right?
I mean, because like, Joan doesn't run out of energy. And she was like, so yeah, what else you got? But then we're 8 hours into a day where I'm just sitting at the piano. I've never played piano that long for 5 days straight, just playing piano all day in a room that looks like this. And that's not a practice room, it's not a concert hall, it's not what I was accustomed to, and it was so brand new. And so during this time, I also recorded part of our way of improvising and finding things we just would make sound in the room. And I would like to play, I just unearthed my recording about some of our rehearsal. So this is about 1 minute of us. Joan is wielding these large wires and banging them against the cement.
I think it's a piece of tin I'm hitting on the floor.
She gathers them all the way up.
Thank you, Jason. I've never heard that before. We like surprises. No, I'll just say that, so we rehearsed in that incredible space, and this footage was all shot before DIA was renovated. I was lucky to be able to go up there with my camera and shoot this beautiful column space. And so we worked together, and I just wanted to mention the other people. Jose Blondet is playing. It was a piece based on the writings of Abby Warburg, and Jose Blondet played Abby Warburg. I never knew he had a background in theater. until he started working with us. He was the, I don't know, he was working at Dia Beacon, and I met him, and I said, "Do you want to be in my piece?" And he said yes.
That's
Anyway,
Joan.
that happens. And
then maybe, also in this piece, there's some, as you just showed, but you also make work the entire time. So maybe we'll perform an excerpt of the snake drawing.
Of what?
The snake painting. The snake.
Oh, snake. Oh, we're going to do the snake dance now?
Snake dance now.
No, but first there was this, right after.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, the nice thing, I hope you think it's nice about this, is that it's rehearsed, but not completely. So just to introduce the next piece, which is part of the same work, the shape, the scent, the feel things. When I was recording and collecting material for this piece, I was in California, and I visited the Salton Sea, which maybe some of you have seen. It's a very weird and strange place. And so I'm introducing Kate Fenner, who's going to sing Pastures of Plenty by Woody Guthrie. And it's meant to be juxtaposed to this modernist ruin by the architect John Lautner, which is in the Salton Sea.
It's a mighty hard road that my poor hands have held. My poor feet have traveled a hot, dusty road. Out of the Dust Bowl and westward we rode, where your deserts are hot and your mountains are cold. I think of the dust and the days that are gone, and the day that's to come with a farm of our own. One turn of the wheel and the water will flow across the green growing fields, down the hot thirsty road. Look down at the canyon, and there you will see the Grand Coulee showers her blessings on me. Light for the city, for factory, for me. Pastures of plenty from dry, barren hills. Green pastures of plenty from dry, barren ground, from the Grand Coulee Dam, where the water runs down. One turn of the wheel and the water will flow across the green growing fields, down the hot thirsty road.
So this is another part of the shape of sound that filled things, and it's Melancholia, a major presence in our life. And I made it Melancholia with Ragini Haas, who is also performing in all of these performances for many years. She was my student in Stuttgart and a wonderful performer. We were talking about
juxtaposition. And I think when I first saw this, I started trying things that were fast. And I started actually, because of the things I was practicing at the time were stride piano things from a century ago, Harlem piano players playing things in their left hand where the left hand is striding, playing these large phrases, large distances, and how to kind of map a different kind of sense of the landscape through the way pianists were mapping their history onto this instrument. And maybe as an example, just as a thing that I was...
play some stride music?
This is the song, this is an excerpt of the song Carolina Shout, which was every piano player's dream and nightmare 100 years ago.
Jason. But so the other day when you played it, I said, "Can you play it slow now?"
Right,
because in D,
it's close. Yeah,
couldn't play that fast. It would never. The sound would just
get very muddy. Right in the D space, it was like sound would last 10, 12 seconds. So playing things fast had to be done just in moments, and this is how Joan and I really work. She said, "Oh yeah, like, well, can you play that again, but really play it really slow?" So that opening phrase, then it becomes. We do that for an hour, though. Like our rehearsal, that's a whole hour of us like, okay, let's hear that for.
You know, we didn't say how we actually worked together, just quickly. I made the script and the backdrops and the text.
Yeah.
But Ragini and I did not have the movements yet. Jose, he was playing Abby Warburg, and I pretended that Deer Beacon was a psychiatric hospital,
right,
because it was a long corridor with rooms on both sides. Mm-hmm. And anyway, so Jason and I would arrive in the morning, and we'd just begin. I would begin with my material, and Jason would play. And then we'd say, "Oh, we like that, yes, that."
Well, no. Joan would say, "I like that." And I'd say, "Okay, great." And I was recording hours and hours of rehearsal. So then on the train ride back to the city, I would go and edit together all these moments where there was fruit that came, you know? It was incredible and tiring, but incredible. I learned a sense of stamina and duration from having just to rehearse. Not the performance, but just how do you really find an idea, and it really can take a long...
Well, it was collecting. We made the soundtrack.
Right.
That's how we made the soundtrack together.
There, yeah.
And we've been working that way ever since.
That's
like
right.
Today, I heard different things. Okay, Jason, next time. We're going to make up something to that.
And
So-
maybe, yeah, and then I guess also what happens is I end up through, because it really goes improvisation to thematic material. It starts from improvisation first, but then out come these themes, and so maybe the final scene of Shape, Scent, Feel of Things is this walk.
Yeah, we'll show the final scene, and it's one of my favorite pieces that Jason has written in relation to my work. So, next piece. As it was the sanitarium. As it was a sanitarium, this was when Jose, representing Abby Warburg, was cured, because the whole essay about the Southwest was written as a cure. And so the audience were the psychiatrists sitting there listening to this performance, and then he could walk out of the door. We could never do this piece this way again. It's only Dear Beacon because of the doors that opened up. We tried, right?
Right, we did. They were still great, too.
Okay.
We did try.
And
maybe this is the second piece we worked on was Reading Dante of yours.
Yeah, Reading Dante. I called it Reading Dante because in Italy, of course, you know that it takes 3 years. They read each part. Each year they read, whatever. Each part of Reading Dante takes a year. And I wanted to read it, and we don't read it in this country in the same way. So I did a piece called Reading Dante because I wanted to read Dante, basically. And in this particular clip, Jason and I didn't work together in the same way. He sent me, what were they?
I sent you files through my computer, which was very different for us.
Very different. It was long distance.
Long distance.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're showing a clip from Reading Dante, and it's Alicia Hall Moran and Kate Fenner singing. Where is that? I'm going to read it because it's such a beautiful, where are my glasses? Here they are. It's a piece from Dante that it just haunted me, so I had to try to make something out of it. I'm just going to read it to you, and then they're going to sing it. It seems you can see our future lot beforehand. if my understanding's right, but knowledge of the present you have not. It's like, he said, someone with bad eyesight who can perceive things very far away. God still grants us that much of his light. But the nearer they approach today, the less we know of general events, except for what we sometimes get by hearsay. So, as you may understand, our sense of things will disappear completely when he shuts the portal of the future tense. Yes, beautiful. And I asked Alicia and Kate to make a song as a duet from these words. So they did that together in Jason's kitchen, maybe?
Yeah.
Or
a kitchen.
A kitchen.
In
okay.
an apartment.
Not your kitchen. A kitchen. But that's how that came about. And
then we moved to Reanimation for Documenta.
What shall we talk about?
Well, I mean, I think the first is like, the text that you were using from this piece, which is Under the Glacier. Is that this one?
That's right. And I was just going to say something else about the Dia Beacon piece, but I'll remember in a minute. Yes, it's based on Halldór Laxness, the Iceland writer's work, Under the Glacier, Reanimation it's called. And Halldór Laxness is a wonderful writer, and what attracted me to his writing was the way he very poetically writes about nature. And Yeah, and there's a quote that inspired me, and then shall I read that first?
Yeah, let's
And then-
rehear that.
yeah.
I got my B sound.
So this is from Haldor Laxness, and it's one of the reasons I made this piece. It's about other things too, but if you are going to tell me the story of the dandelion and the honeybee, I shall hit you. Lyrical poetry is the most disgusting drivel on earth, not accepting theology. I'm going to bed. When a dandelion calls to a bee with the scent to give it honey, and the bee goes off with the pollen from the flower and sows it somewhere far away, that I call a supercommunion. It would be remarkable if a more supercommunion could be established, even though intergalactic communication were put in order. We also thought, so this is Reanimation, and we thought about also talking about how we put different threads together of different pieces. I mean, you do it in jazz all the time.
Right.
And it's the way we work. You take it, like, for instance, this, I did a piece called Disturbances in the Swimming Pool. And so when I made this piece based on Under the Glacier, my first thought is glaciers are melting. So all my work depends. It takes place in the moment. It doesn't happen in the past. And so then I began to think about climate change.
And, you know, I think when you say that part where it happens in the moment or the minute, and the intergalactic communication. I mean, you always come down to see the band, my band with Taras Mateen and Nasheed Waits play at the Village Vanguard in downtown. And the way that room is a hive for that activity. In this photo, this is us during peak pandemic when the Village Vanguard was streaming out concerts. But on to the left of me, you see a flashlight, which is my Joan Jonas quote, that I bring this flashlight into the Village Vanguard, often looking for the ghosts that are in the room. But this is where Joan often comes and hears the band play her songs for her as a way of, so you're kind of a part
It's one of my favorite places to hear Jason's music, the Village Vanguard. Every Thanksgiving he plays for 6 nights, twice a night.
Yeah, and Joan says, pick a good seat for me. But this is a place where that communication is, is unwritten and is always felt. And it's also the way that I think we improvise together too, is we often are like listening and watching, but also listening maybe before we watch too. And this is maybe the next
What
cue.
the names of your other players?
Taras Mateen is playing bass, and Nasheed Waits is playing drums, and we've been together 25 years. And this is they are their own revolution. Yeah. And then maybe we'd go to the paper piece now.
Broken Symmetry? No, what did
Broken
you say?
Symmetry.
I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, that's right. Broken Symmetry. So Joan has this piece, Broken Symmetry, and we all.
You said something before.
No, I said paper.
Paper.
Paper comes, but Broken Symmetry is now.
Light, heavy. See the abstract form that underlies. Draw from the space between. Walk around. Move with object. The prop moves you. Draw around your objects. Draw the space between. Turn upside down and sideways. Draw without looking. Show, object, tell a story. Artist as anthropologists. Place two ideas side by side. What am I afraid of? Find a scene from a film. Present your version. Talk about parades, banners, sticks, politics, etc. Feel the weight of your body. Nothing empty, no goal. Raise arms up and down while walking, as in a series of stills in a film. Be aware of others in the space. Move in relation to others. Double your speed. Triple it. Stop. So I began to work with children, actually in reading Dante. Uchenna Enzoizor was in that. She read Dante at the age of 14. And I love that the children read Dante. And of course they do. And I began to work with children in a piece called They Come to Us Without a Word, right, but I had before. And these children are all, this is a double projection. They're all children of friends of mine, so I didn't put out, I just asked friends' children to come. Lila was one of them. There she is, somewhere in there. And the children are Zora Casabir, right here, and also in the background. And then Jason's two boys, a number of years ago, Malcolm and Jonas. And then Noah Delarme, who was the older boy, the older young man, I should say, and Willa Schwabsky standing there. They also come back into my work. Lila's here, and upstairs, Malcolm Moran has a major part in the piece about the whales.
I often ask them, I was like, yo, so what did Joan tell you? Like, I ask the boys, and they don't tell me what you talk about. They do not share their relationship, working relationship with you. They're like, oh, she just said, gave us some. And I was like, wait, you were there like 9 hours. Like, how, like, what did you? So it's very much, like a relationship that you have with them. And
I mean, it's great. I don't have children of my own, so it's wonderful. Anyway, but, so there they are. And this is Lila. I wanted to show a picture of Lila in an earlier work called Stream, River, Flight, or Pattern. And I often ask the children to draw, and it's one of the to give them activities to do. And I don't train them to do anything. I give them, for instance, the bee dance. I wanted to mention that when we did Reanimation, we studied bees.
Mm-hmm.
We had a beekeeper come to the. No, they weren't in that one. It was in
this
the Come
one.
to Us Well.
They come to us.
The beekeeper came to the performance, to the rehearsals, and gave a little lecture. The children were not that interested. But anyway, and we're going to play part of that piece. And so we looked up the bee dance, the waggle dance that the bees do when they tell the other bees where the pollen is. And so the movement that you'll see them doing, I think in a little while, is that waggle dance.
Yeah,
the bee dance.
We're going to do the wind now.
We're going to show wind now, sorry.
Wind,
What happened to the...
And then it's right after bees.
Oh, thank you, Jason.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next piece that we're showing is, I call it wind. It's not the same as the wind upstairs. It just happens to be. Wind is an element, a psychological force, but also a character. Whenever I'm in the country and the wind starts blowing, I rush out with my costumes and my flags and everything and try to make something with the wind. Yeah. So this is one of my favorite, again, another favorite Jason piece that he's playing with the wind. And this particular version is from a piece called They Come to Us Without a Word, and that's Zora and Lila, actually, right there in the corner. I just want to say one more thing about when we showed Melancholia and the landscape. It's the American landscape, and it's a kind of a comment on America in little ways. So I saw the buffalo, for instance, brings back memories. And so the next piece is a continuation of They Come to Us Without a Word. Oh, I wanted to talk a little bit about They Come to Us Without a Word, about how it began, right?
Yeah.
I was on my way to Japan, and I started thinking how fish is consumed in our world. And so I made 100 drawings of fish and exhibited them in Japan in this very small space, and then came back, and those 100 drawings of fish became part of this piece, and I called it They Come to Us Without a Word, the fish. And so then it grew into this performance with the children again, and with the animals. And this is when I read
The quote.
So it's a quote. Obviously, I quote from many different sources. And by the way, the quotes from The Shape, the Scent, the Feel of Things is from Abby Warburg's writings. This is by John Berger. The parallelism of their dissimilar. Sorry, I have to put my glasses on, excuse me. If I can find them. Where did I put them? The parallelism of their dissimilar lives allowed animals to provoke some of the first questions and offer answers. The first subject matter for painting was animal. Probably the first paint was animal blood. Prior to that, it is not unreasonable to assume that the first metaphor was animal.
And this is all shot in Nova Scotia and Cape Breton.
Yeah, it's also The Last Wind. Some of it was shot in Nova Scotia. That was, by the way, I wanted to mention her name. Sadie Bills was the woman in that. We didn't mention her name. In the Wind with the paper. And this was partly shot in Nova Scotia. And then Willa Schwabsky is performing in front of the projection in this case. Yeah. Nova Scotia, where I go in the summer, Cape Breton, is an incredible source of inspiration for me. And Jason and Alicia and the boys visited me one summer. Can I mention it?
Yeah.
And just before they came, Jason called me up and said, "I'm afraid of bugs."
I'm not the only one. Why are you acting like I'm the only one over here? But also, like, well, yeah, when we got out, you know, and you drive from Halifax, it's like many hours to drive from Halifax there. But when the bugs aren't waiting for people, they like machines too. So the bugs attacked the car like it knew it was from Harlem or something. It was just like, and I was like, ain't nothing here. It's just metal and paint, you know. But it was incredible to be there, to see that, to feel that air, to see the landscape, to see so much of it, what you've brought back to us, you know, also.
And you saw an itsy bitsy spider.
Jonah had a spider living behind one of her paintings that it only came out at night. It just would come out and be like, "I'm here for the buffet." And then the daytime it would retreat. I wasn't sleeping in that room either. That's Malcolm and Jonas. They slept in there and they saw the spider every night. But it was really transformative to see.
You should never kill spiders in your house. It's bad luck.
Yeah, yeah. Why
Really
are you looking at me
that.
like that? Yeah, but it was incredible to be there. It was totally, I felt, for all the years, so pianists mostly, Elton John faces his piano out here so he could be a star, right? Pianists who do that, they're looking to be the star, but most of us, we face this way. We face away from you all. And I face all the time, I face you and I face the screen. I face you, I face the screen. I face my band. It's what I engage with the most. And so for all these years, like seeing all of these images from up there, and then finally being there and seeing the rocks and seeing the water and seeing the foliage was totally just, I understood so much about how you understand the world around you and how you fuse it together. It's incredible, but it was incredible to be there. It really was.
It's great that you came, thank God.
Yeah.
Okay. No, but yeah, it was wonderful.
Oh, well, yes. But what it also mentions is that the music that's up there, the fiddle and piano music that is there, that is really, like, really strong and incredible, and is what you hear me sampling in this.
Do you have a sample with you of that music? No. Tomorrow.
No, but I'm playing it tonight.
Oh, you are?
It's there. It's like living behind
it's in
everything.
You. Yeah.
But it was incredible. Joan goes and listens to music all the time. So she brought us to see this duet play. It was just totally mind-boggling. It was incredible.
Yeah, the fiddle music is amazing.
Well,
so
the final.
So the next clip is something I recorded in Cape Breton near my house, and it's a neighbor's house. It's not my house, but it was so interesting before he renovated it, I have to say. And by the way, I want to mention that Jason's kids rode Helen Tworkoff's horses. So that was great. So this is something from a book called The Woman from Away, and I was working on a new work, and the local bookstore had all the local stories, ghost stories and fiction, and there's one book called The Woman from Away, written by a woman who came from another part of Nova Scotia and came up to Cape Breton, and I have to say that she left. She didn't stay forever. It asks of man, is your harvest in? The oats, the hay, the feed for the herd, the potatoes, the cabbage, the turnips and all? Are they dug and stored in your cellar, warm and dry? Is your house patched up against the winter with the sills bagged round where the cold sleeps in? Have you harnessed the horses and gathered the maple, the long white oak, and the occasional ash cut in the hot months of summer against the time when the woods will be waist deep with snow and boughs bent down and saddened by their heavy loads? Is your barn mended against the dampness of the winter, when the cold will try its best it can to seep in and blacken the hay? Hay that, should your animals eat in their hunger, could cause them to sicken and perhaps die? Have you sawed, chopped, and stacked your winter logs in some sheltered place where the drifts won't bury them so deep that only an axe can cut them free? Have you located your animals, every one? The animals leave their distant feeding grounds and by instinct come back to last year's habitation. Chained or roped with freedom gone, they yet have daily food of sorts there that quiets the rumble of their empty paunches. Here there is no thirst for days on end with only snow to wet their throats, but clear, keen water from a spring at the end of a shoveled path. Have you found that heifer that stayed with the green of the undergrowth by that stand of fir and spruce and brought her home to the safety of her stall? Then the voices of winter, bellowing and raging, mourning and sorrowful, can do their utmost. You are ready. I just want to say that we made up this piece one day in Venice, and we were working on They Come to Us Without a Word. And Jason, everybody went for lunch, and Jason and I were left alone there. We thought we both have to work on something. And I had the oar, a Venetian oar, which weighed a ton. So Jason and I made up this piece then, right? That's how things happen. And I just want to say I forgot to put my white paper coat on. I just want to, I have to say, thank you for coming, and also thank you. It's such a wonderful opportunity for us to do this. You don't get to do this very often. And I just want to mention David Sherman up there in the booth, and all the wonderful work he's done with this. Thank you, David, and thank you, Jason, and thank you, Lila, and Kate. Thank you.